Hi there everybody, my name is Jeremy Krug and I'd like to welcome you back to another chemistry video. And in this video we're going to be focusing on valence electrons and some applications of those. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd like to encourage you to look around and consider subscribing. That way you don't miss a thing here on the place for honors chemistry and AP chemistry. Now, if you watched the last video, you noticed that we talked about the patterns in valence electrons. We said that we can predict how many valence electrons any of the representative elements are going to have just by looking at where they're located on the periodic table. Now, if we think about all these possible combinations or possible numbers of valence electrons, as it turns out, there's one number that's kind of special. In fact, it's a little bit, maybe even more important than the others. And that is the fact that some atoms have or can have an octet. Now, octet just refers to an atom that possesses 8 valence electrons. 8 is a very stable number in chemistry. In fact, we can say that atoms are the most stable when they have an octet, when they have that very stable configuration of 8 valence electrons. If you think about it, 8 is kind of a special number because there are 2 electrons that can fit in an s sublevel and 6 more electrons that can fit in a p sublevel. So when an atom has both its s and p sublevels filled, well, that's a total of 8, isn't it? That's a very stable configuration for any atom to have. In fact, as it turns out, atoms that don't have 8 valence electrons will do things in order to get 8. They will beg, borrow, plead, steal, share, do anything they can in order to get 8 valence electrons. Now, let's take a look at an example of this. Let's take a look at the fluorine atom. Now, we can look at where fluorine is on the periodic table and see that it has 7 valence electrons, just naturally as an atom. But as we said, it wants to have an octet, or maybe more correctly stated, it would be a whole lot more stable if it had 8 valence electrons. So it has 7. It would be more stable with 8. So what is it going to do? Well, it's going to gain 1 electron. And when it does that, it's going to obtain a negative charge. So it's not going to be just F anymore. It's going to be F with a negative charge. So we're going to write its symbol as F negative, just like you see here. Now, some students get a little bit confused when we say gaining electrons gives it a negative charge, because sometimes we associate the word gain with something positive. Well, as it turns out, the reason it's negative is because of what we're gaining. Remember, electrons have a negative charge. So since we're gaining an electron, what we're gaining is a negative charge onto that atom. So that's why it's F negative. In fact, I think we could probably generalize and say all of these atoms here in group 17 that have those 7 valence electrons would do the same thing, wouldn't they? They all have 7. They would gain 1 electron, and they would have a negative charge whenever they obtain that octet. Now, let's try another atom. Let's try oxygen. We can look at the periodic table and see that oxygen has 6 valence electrons. It would be a whole lot more stable with 8. So it's going to gain 2 electrons. And when it does that, it's going to have a negative 2 charge. And so here's how you'd write the formula for oxygen after it's obtained an octet. O with 2 negative right there. And so this is the symbol for O after it's obtained the octet, with a little 2 negative off to the side as a superscript. And once again, we would say that sulfur and selenium would do something very similar, wouldn't they? Since they also have 6 valence electrons. Let's try nitrogen. Now, nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, and it would be a whole lot more stable with 8. So from 5 to 8, what is it going to do? Well, it's going to gain 3 electrons, isn't it? And so what kind of a charge is it going to have after it does that? Well, 3 negative. And so here's the symbol for nitrogen after it's gained 3 electrons, and it has that 3 negative charge now. And once again, there are other atoms like phosphorus and arsenic that would do something like that as well. Okay, so we can see how a lot of these atoms are going to gain electrons in order to obtain an octet. Now, let's imagine we have another atom. Let's go to the complete opposite side of the periodic table. Let's take a look at the left side here, and let's look at sodium. So we can see where sodium is on the periodic table right here. It has one valence electron, and so it has one. It would be a whole lot more stable with 8. So how is it going to obtain that octet? Well, some students will say, it has 1. It would like to have 8, so it's going to gain 7. Is it going to gain 7 electrons? Well, I suppose it could, but let's think about something else that might be easier for it to do. Hopefully, you would agree that the electron configuration for sodium is this: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So that's the electron configuration for sodium. Now, it could gain 7, I suppose, but what about if it were to lose this one electron right here in the 3s sublevel? What if that electron were to go away like this? How many valence electrons would it have now? Well, now, since the entire third electron shell is gone, its valence electrons are now in the second shell, aren't they? And so 2 plus 6, well, that's 8, isn't it? So which do you think is easier for sodium to do? Gain 7 or lose 1? Well, as it turns out, it's easier for it to lose 1. So sodium actually loses 1 electron. Now, when it loses that negative charge, what charge does it have left? Well, it's going to be a positive charge. And so sodium, after it's obtained the octet, has a positive charge. Now, we can also generalize this and say that these other alkali metals are going to do something similar, like lithium or potassium or rubidium. They're going to lose 1 electron and have that positive charge whenever they obtain the octet. Let's try another atom here. Let's try magnesium. So we can see where magnesium is on the table. It's got 2 valence electrons, so it has 2. How is it going to obtain the octet? Well, it's kind of like sodium. I suppose it could gain 6, but it's a lot easier for it to lose 2, isn't it? So magnesium actually loses 2 electrons, and it has a 2 positive charge. And so that's the symbol for magnesium after it's obtained an octet, Mg2+. And that's how those other alkaline earth metals would be as well. Let's try another atom. Let's try aluminum this time. Now, aluminum, we can see where it is on the table. We did its electron configuration in the last video, and we said it has 3 valence electrons. So it has 3. How can it obtain 8 most easily? Well, easier than gaining 5, it could just lose 3. So guess what? Aluminum is going to lose 3 electrons, and now it's going to have this Al plus 3, or 3 positive charge. So we can generalize and say that maybe gallium and some other atoms like that would do something similar. Now, the goal here is to see how these atoms will obtain an octet. And we've been looking at these charged particles here. And as it turns out, there's a name for this. All of these particles that have gained or lost electrons, these are called ions. The word ion is just a general term that refers to any atom that has either gained or lost electrons. Now, if you were to think about the types of ions that we've looked at in this video, and you were asked to classify them into 2 types, what 2 types would you classify them into? Well, hopefully, those that have gained electrons, the ones that are negatively charged, and the ones that have lost electrons, those that are positively charged. So, for example, we have these that we looked at, the sodium. We could talk about maybe the calcium ion or the aluminum ion. Those have positive charges. Those are called cations. Cations have a positive charge. And then we have those negative ions, the ones that gained electrons, like F negative or O2 negative or N3 negative. The ones that have a negative charge are called anions. So we have cations and we have anions. And it's important to realize that cations are positively charged, because they've lost electrons, and anions are negatively charged because they've gained electrons. Now, I hope you can see the pattern in the periodic table. We can look at the charges and say, for example, that all these in group 1 are going to have a positive 1 charge because they lose 1 electron. These atoms here in group 2 are going to have a positive 2 charge because they lose 2 electrons when they obtain the octet. Likewise, on the other side of the periodic table, all these in group 17 are going to have a negative 1 charge because they gain 1 electron. These here in group 16 are going to have a negative 2 charge because they gain 2 electrons. And things here in group 15, like nitrogen and phosphorus and arsenic, they're going to have a negative 3 charge because they are going to gain 3 electrons. So the goal here is to see the pattern in how the octet rule works and how these ions are formed. I hope you learned something from this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please slam that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. And if you would be so kind as to tell your friends and your classmates about my videos, the word of mouth really does help. I do appreciate it. That does help the algorithm. And I hope to see you in the next video where we're going to talk about some other patterns on the periodic table. I'll see you then.